So welcome, everyone. I'm Ivy Rivera. I'm a psychic medium, a Taino Arawak, and I own a school called the Ivy League Psychic Academy, where I train people internationally, online, and everything from psychic mediumship development to tarot, astrology, numerology, Reiki, children, as well as adults. You name it, we do it. Hope to see you there for classes. We do a psychic mediumship course beginning February 16th, and we only have about 8 seats left for Pathway 2 if you want to learn how to give the readings directly. Pathway 1 is downloadable classes. You could take that at any time throughout the year. Welcome, Paul Casey, Healing Arts, my adorable producer. How are you?
I'm wonderful, thank you. How are you?
I'm good.
Great.
And we have tonight Christina Del Rey, our astrologer here at the Academy with us. How are you, Christina?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. Excited.
Yay. We do this every year. We love this show. And so Christina and I, for many years, have been playing off of each other. What I get psychically and mediumistically, she gets through astrology and psychically. And we find that things are always pairing up. We don't know how the heck we're doing it, but we're always in sync somehow. So tried and true, many years of looking at this. And it's always pretty exciting when we get together and we can do a show like this. Today, what we're doing is what to expect in 2021. Now, Christina's going to be talking about all of the planetary movements that are a really big deal or will be impacting a lot of you guys individually in a big way. So every year I go to Christina and I get a personal reading and a work reading. So this allows me to pull my calendar out, and I would say to all of you, this is a great time to start taking notes, to get your date books out. I mark on the calendar all the dates that she talks about so that I know when to maximize my prosperity, but I also know when to sort of pull away and avoid any kind of pitfalls. But it's also a lot about like communication with others and when things are going to get tough. It's good to know how to sort of ride those waves, and it helps you to weather the storm. I've really been able to maximize, especially in the last like 3 to 4 years doing this with her. And so if you guys want more in-depth of a reading for your own personal chart, your work and money chart, you can see her for that and book that later, but also go over to her YouTube channel, because what we're going over tonight is every zodiac sign and a little extra. So we're not going to have time to get too in-depth. So you can go to her YouTube at, where are you, Christina?
My channel's called Astrology Simplified, Christina Del Rey.
Okay, Christina Del Rey, Astrology Simplified.
The link is in the description, so if you're in YouTube, just click over and there you are.
Okay, perfect. So Paul's got that all in the link for you guys. All right, very good. So what to expect in 2021? Well, I think we could definitely expect that it's going to be better than what we just had. Okay, it can't get much worse. So I think at this point, Christina, do you agree we can all take a deep breath?
Yes, I do think that we still have challenges ahead of us, but I think this was a big year, and I know that you said this was like a leveling up year, so I'm in agreement with that. And you know what? You and I were talking about this earlier. We can't take everybody with us to 2021. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, we all grow and we level up at our own rate. And when you no longer align, you know, the universe realizes that. And then, you know, it doesn't mean that you fight. It just means that you detach and you go your separate way because that person is on their own soul journey. So I do think that you will see a lot of that going on right now as we wrap up. And I know you were feeling this Cancer, well, as a Cancer, you were feeling this Cancer full moon that we're having today.
Right.
Well, you got a friend. Yeah,
absolutely. So, yeah, I have a Cancer sun. Mm-hmm. And I know a bunch of other people have been saying, wow, my, certain key relationships in my life, I really didn't expect for them to erupt. And I now realize, every time the bus stops, somebody's got to get off. I'm going to have to leave these people behind. They are not going to be able to go with me on the next level. And I think that that is key to understanding your prosperity, because if you try to hold on to all the old relationships and toxic habits and things that are blocking your energy, you don't get that prosperity. We have to be willing at this point to just release and let go. So yeah, Christina, having it in my own personal life, watching a bunch of other people have it too, And it's good to know that it's sort of like the peak moment. You know, here we are at the end of the year, the grand finale, and we're seeing it in some of those key relationships where it's like, wow, the truth is revealed. Let's let go of these relationships and move on alone.
Well, one of the big things of 2020 was that, you know, people's true colors came out. Yes. And, you know, that may have set you in a way that, you know, separated you. So this last full moon, it was a very emotional full moon, and I did touch on it. Actually, my forecast for this week, my astrology forecast on my channel was all about this full moon. But, you know, this is really letting things, you know, kind of go that happened from the year, and maybe making a move on a wound that you had in 2020 and then moving on. And what's interesting is that we actually entered 2020 with a full moon eclipse, and now we're ending 2020. So we entered and ended both on the same full moon cycle. So we really are wrapping up things, and Cancer has to do with our emotional security. It has to do with our country. It has to do with family. So I don't know if a lot of people are feeling that right now, but that is what we are in at this moment. So we're trying to set ourselves free. You know, like this moon is setting us free to sort of like become a more authentic version of ourselves.
I think it's interesting that you said it's family, it's also country and things like this, because a lot of the arguments that are happening with people, or a lot of the official divides where some people are saying, I have to move on and let this person stay in the darkness. It is political.
Yes.
Because it's no longer political. We can't say this is politics when it's hurting other people. And so when we see people feeding that system, yeah, we're seeing a lot of division.
Well, and we're going to continue to see that division with the Saturn-Uranus square for next year. So there is going to be a push-pull, because Uranus is going to meet with Saturn 3 times next year. And what that is going to do is it's going to be, you know, the old fighting the new. And that's going to happen February 17th, again on June 14th, and then again for one last time on December 24th, Christmas Eve. So it's going to be the progressive Uranus, which is, you know, freedom and shocks and chaos and sudden events, and, you know, and feeling more free. And then Saturn rules responsibility and karma, and those two things are clashing. So in order to balance this energy, we have to sort of become more responsible so that we can be more free. So there's this interesting, it's an interesting energy, because there's going to be a lot of resistance. There's going to be people with the old way and people with the new way. And then there's going to be these people who go way over to the new way. And then there's going to be people who are way in the old way. And somewhere there, you know what I mean, we have to figure it out. So that's what 2020 is going to be all about. And Uranus is in Taurus, which is shakeups in money and values. So it should be interesting, because, you know, this is going to play into the stock market. This is going to play into currency changes. And I don't know if you see anything with that.
I have. So on both of those notes, so you're saying this is the Uranus square Saturn transition. Yes. Right.
Saturn,
and that sets the theme for 2021.
Uranus has been in Taurus for a while. I think we did a show on that way back in the day. But yeah, so they're going to make their square 3 times this year, and it's really going to like shake things up.
Okay, so that's February 17th, June 14th, December 24th. Yes. Merry Christmas, guys. Yeah. Time for family drama again.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I did feel a couple of those things. So the predictions that I had, we talked about this a little bit in the End Times, Are We There video that we put up. What I'm seeing for 2021 is getting back to some normalcy in regards to COVID and things like that around maybe June and July, but not really. Like basically people who run businesses like mine that are for larger gatherings, public gatherings, like 2021 looks just wiped out for me. But I think that some people will be getting back into a routine. I do see, as far as the money stuff is concerned, not only that, but the wealth being transitioned from the hands of those in power, from those who have been able, that small percentage that carries all the wealth. I keep seeing that transition out of their hands and into the poor, or those have been working really hard, but not really reaping those rewards, not getting access to it. So it's sort of like the tail becomes the head and the head becomes the tail. The other thing that I had seen was, I didn't realize it was a Hopi prophecy. The Hopi prophecy being that people will be going dark, basically going mentally ill, losing their ability to maintain their health and wellness, losing self-control. It could look very much like they're losing their minds, and they're going darker and darker and darker. And that what the people who have been living a moral lifestyle and are ready to face the light, change, or have been feeding the light, they are going to have to let those people go, and those people will continue to deteriorate. It's like we are no longer in a stage of working with others who are sort of on the fence. They don't know if it's going to be light or dark for them. It's let them go. They have chosen the dark, and now it's karmic. So yeah, I think that that is basically the same thing that you're saying.
Yes, and I want to point out that we always have free will, so we can always make better choices. Saturn says that you have to do the hard work, and it never feels good when Saturn's there. Saturn will say, you got to do this, then this, then this, and it'll push you to your limits, and you'll feel terrible, and you'll want to leave, and you'll want to do everything to get out of it. But then the rewards come down the road because Saturn is karma. So, we always have a choice between light and dark. It's just which one we take. So it's not like these people are like there's no hope for them. There's only no hope for them if they keep choosing the path that they choose, unfortunately. And
for those who have been getting drained, trying to help them and feel that it's their duty to save them, you have to understand it's time. They have to take responsibility at this point and put in the effort and do the work. Yeah. Right.
And that's the only way that the universe is going to reward you, because if you keep running from responsibility, that catches up to you too. But with Uranus and Taurus, the shakeup, it's really going to be reprioritizing, kind of what you were talking about, reprioritizing our values. So I really do think it's written in the stars that money changes hands, like big money starts to change hands. And we can talk about, the shift into Aquarius. We had the Great Conjunction, and those horoscopes also are on my, I think I have a Great Conjunction video, and then I have it broken down sign by sign on my YouTube channel. But when we say that we're entering Aquarius, there's a shift in priorities as a society, and it's going to be more about mental thoughts becoming more important than things. It's going to be community, more focused on community. And I think it's interesting because you are creating a community right now. So, it's about friendship and community and looking out for each other and humanitarianism. But also too, how we have the top-down societies right now. Well, there's going to be a shift to bottom up. So people are going to have a say in what happens in their communities. We're talking about more freedom and independence and networking. Not that we won't have to fight for that, but that will be what our work is. And cutting edge technology. Think sci-fi movies. I know Paul's going to get really excited about that. But I think, equal rights for everyone, unique expression, taking care of the earth, the climate, with the, all the climate stuff. So, it's going to be a real shift in priorities, and there's going to be those people that don't want to shift.
Yep. What's the song? Get out of the doorway, stop blocking up the hall. Who is that? Bob Dylan. Yeah, that's how it looks to me too. It's like, what, if you're not ready for the change, you're going to have to get out of the way or get trampled. Like, these are the options now. This is it. So I think it's very exciting. I have been getting the same things with that, mostly in recognizing, and it already started, that due to the quarantine, the pandemic, people have been forced to sit still And because they've been forced to sit still and stay away from others, they're figuring out more about their energy, who they really are, taking ownership of that, understanding that they are often negatively affected by other people's energy. And now they have more peace of mind. And people have been forced to become more mindful. You know, we can't always be distracted with activity when you're in a situation like a quarantine. And therefore, we have had more and more people step up and say, I think I'm called to be a healer. I think I'm called to be in light work. I think I'm going to change my career. I need something more meaningful. We also saw a lot of jobs being wiped out. So people had to reinvent themselves. This thrills me beyond belief because, again, like you said, Christina, it's up to your free will, of course. But it is a painful process, granted, but people are having a huge opportunity to level up. And so we see light workers coming out of the woodwork. We see healers coming out of the woodwork. And regardless of whether they go into mainstream work in 2021 or they take on this sort of different work like what we do, I think what we're going to see is that humanitarian effort come out through the actual day-to-day practices, and that is huge. It's not going to be like a hobby or a side gig or something people do in the closet. It's going to be mainstream, and I don't think we've ever seen that.
Yeah, I think we need more of that for sure. I mean, you know, like I think that with, you know, and I say this in my horoscopes, but with that Saturn Jupiter is giving you an opportunity. And now you just, you know, you planted the seed. So now you have to sort of go forward with it and have something more meaningful. Because if we didn't have a pandemic and we didn't slow down, we wouldn't have had, you know, we wouldn't know what we wanted or we wouldn't know which way to go. But this is aligning us with what we came here to do. So, you know, like this is like big changes. This is like redoing your whole vibrations.
I just want to say on that note too, we have our first Sunday service coming up on January 3rd for Roots Revival Interfaith. And I'm one of the reverends. Christina Del Rey is also one of the reverends. And we're going to be discussing some of this particular part of it, including the way that hardship, job loss, devastation, you know, the fear that's been happening here in 2020 has huge growth potential along with it. It can also help us to be humble and to be grateful for what we do have and to be willing to reach out and help others more. This is the point to all of it.
And we're supposed to change our values. What we value should have changed during that pandemic. You know what I mean? Like it should, what we found to be important now and what we thought was important should be different. It should be more meaningful now.
So that's the Aquarian shift.
Yeah.
More community.
Yes. And I think, you know, and I think more equality and equity as well, like kind of what you were saying with the money shifting. So I think that that's going to be where the money shifts or there's more equity. And I really believe that there will be the rise of the divine feminine. And I know that you did a show or you were doing a show with Reverend
Danny Johnson, our other reverend, at Roots Revival Interfaith here. She and I will be doing a show called The Divine Feminine. When is that, Paul?
That is Tuesday, January 12th.
Amazing how you remember.
Oh, yeah. And like, you know, she and I have talked about this before, but we feel like women are going to be leaders now, you know, or they're going to come up into power. And it's not really going to be about if they're a woman or if they're not. Like, it's going to be more accepted. And, you know, also too with the Aquarius, I think gender becomes a little more fluid too. And, you know, LGBTQ are more, you know, it's more accepted. It's more regular. I mean, you know, we're getting there. But I think that this is going to sort of normalize gender being more fluid, where you don't have to go to one side or the other. It's okay to just be. And we all have masculine and feminine within us. So, you know, we can honor that. So I think I do feel like we're moving into a time where we're more respectful of each other. And that's what our values go.
I've seen that also for 2021. Minorities, especially when we're talking about Black people, but we're also looking at natives. And so Native Americans moving up to the forefront, and then gay and LGBTQ and women. It's like a total shift of everything we've been used to looking at. That becomes, those become the groups of people that, take over the power and start leading in a more active way. It's amazing that it's written in the stars.
It is, because, last year we had to break everything down. We had to break it all apart and destroy it. And now Aquarius says we got to rebuild it, but we got to do it equal.
Love it. What about this eclipse axis? What is that all about?
Okay, so we always have eclipses in pairs, and eclipses are resets. They are shakeups. They're points of crisis or culmination that pushes us into the future. So, if, like we always say, that if we were left to change on our own, we wouldn't. We would just stay stuck. So the eclipse axis, they're just points on the chart. They're related to the moon, and this year, coming up in 2021, we have 4 of them, and 3 of them will be on the Gemini and Sagittarius axis. So when we talk about Gemini and Sagittarius, we're talking about information, skills. We're talking about using our hands. We're talking about expression, trying to focus in on skills that, I really think that we're going to see the rise of skilled workers again, like they're specialized. So specialized workers, you're going to see people who specialize in a trade or specialize in the skill. And that's going to be really important. But then we also have the Sagittarius, which is the opposite of Gemini. And we have, the truth. So as we know, truth can change. So our truth in 2020 is different in 2021. Like the truth keeps evolving. We could, Sagittarius is about exploration. It's about education. It's about religion and philosophy. So these are the points that is a big focus, a reset, a shakeup, pushing us into the future for 2021. And everybody has this in their chart somewhere. And we'll get to that when we get to the horoscopes in a minute here.
What are the 4 dates?
For the eclipses, we have May 26th is a lunar eclipse in Sagittarius. And we have June 10th, which is a solar eclipse. And that is in Gemini. And we have November 19th, which is a lunar eclipse. And that's in Taurus. So that's our one off. So remember now, Taurus is money. That's where Uranus is. Now, it's not really close to Uranus, but still, shakeups with value systems. So just keep that in mind. And for those people who do the stock market, and money's going to be a little unpredictable this year. So, just be careful. Mm-hmm. And December 4th, we have a solar eclipse in Sagittarius.
Very good. And I just wanted to comment on what Christina said about us getting into individual horoscopes. So we're going to talk about one more thing that everyone can expect to see in 2021 on a whole. And then we're going to get into individual horoscopes for each zodiac sign, what I have seen, and then what Christina has seen in astrology. So mine is psychic mediumship. Hers is astrology. And when we're done talking about this last point, we will be turning off from TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. But if you guys want to continue on with this class, you can join us here on YouTube at Ask Ivy. So you could switch over now, or you could switch over in a minute if you want to hear for each zodiac sign. Okay, Christina, Mercury in retrograde. Okay, everyone who's a Virgo or a Gemini is fairly obsessed with this, but because it affects them the most, being ruled by Mercury. But over the last few years, I've noticed more and more and more people talking about Mercury in retrograde, because it really does seem to affect everyone. What should we be watching for with these in 2021?
Definitely with Mercury retrograde, just as a general rule, you want to slow down, especially if you're a Gemini or a Virgo. And you want to sit with information a little bit more, digest it a little bit, and before you act upon it. That's kind of what the meaning is. Whenever you have a Mercury retrograde, you want to rethink, redo. This year is interesting because we're already switching from earth energies to air energies in other ways. But on top of this, Mercury is going to retrograde in the air signs. So curious how this all plays out for you, Ivy.
Oh my God.
So
I have Gemini, I'm on cusp, and then it's my rising, it's my moon, it's in like 4 other places.
She has like 1,000 planets in Gemini. So
this is bad.
But anyway, so January 30th to February 20th, we're going to see a retrograde in Aquarius. So that's going to be right off the bat there. And then May 29th to June 22nd, we'll have a Mercury retrograde in Gemini. So that's your time. And then September 26th to October 18th, we're going to have a retrograde in Libra. Now, if you think about last year, we retrograded in the water signs. So very emotional, very heavy, okay? Air is not like that. Air is completely different. Air is very light. Air is very fast moving and quick. We're going to be looking or re-looking, I should say, very deeply at reviewing ideas, reviewing freedom, reviewing relationship independence, reviewing equality. Technology is going to be a big deal. And when Mercury retrogrades, most people know this, but technology starts to go wacky. So expect that, make time for it. Networking is a big Aquarian theme. It's a big air theme where you're talking, and it does, with this new Aquarian age and all this technology, maybe you're doing that on, a podcast. But these are the things that we're going to be looking at our values, but they're going to be different because they're going to be more air. They're not going to be concrete. They're going to be more, they're more abstract, I guess. So, community is going to be big. Relationships are going to be big. And you're just, you're really, when Mercury goes retrograde, you're kind of just supposed to sit there and see what it means for you. And Mercury can be the trickster too. So things are not always clear when Mercury is retrograde. So sometimes we have to wait till it goes direct to find out what was really going on, but you're still supposed to contemplate. So.
And I love that you talk about that because I see a lot of posts, especially, Instagram or a lot of other astrologers who seem to focus more on the fact that Mercury in retrograde means there are going to be communication mishaps. The emails that you send probably won't go through, so double check it, that your phone's going to go haywire, the computer system's going to shut down. Yes, all of that happens, but more importantly, it is about slowing down and stopping. This is how I've survived so many of these, being, like a triple Gemini. It's about asking the questions. I look at it as like a little timeout chair to figure out if anything needs to be revamped.
Yes. And
then just don't push anything until it's over. If the flow has stopped, there's a reason for that.
That's right. And it can be frustrating, but you just have to kind of take a breath, So it's to stop you from being go, go, go all the time and not being mindful. So you want to take a breath, relax, and go back, especially when you were talking air signs, because air signs just tend to go, 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 and then never stop. So that's why it's Mercury. Mercury, you got to start rethinking and slowing down.
So it really is an opportunity. Yeah, I think when you stop seeing Mercury in retrograde as something to fear that's going to make your life complete chaos, and to try to convert it into something that you can use for positivity if you work with it, it's somewhat more palatable. Okay, interesting. So hopefully everybody got those dates. If you didn't, you can watch again, or I see Paul typing away. I don't know if you put these in the...
I did.
Paulie put them in the feed. He's so organized. This is why we love Paulie. Okay, and then again, if you want more in-depth information on any of this, you can go to Christina's YouTube because she's done quite a few videos on some of this stuff already, but she'll have more upcoming. So that's in the link above, and I believe in the comments section. Christina, is there anything else you wanted to talk about before we start getting into each zodiac sign for the year?
I think we're good. I think we've covered the main topics. So
that's the big stuff. Okay, and you guys have the dates. Mark your date books. I am telling you, it will change your life. Again, feel free to post your questions and comments. We will be getting to them at the end here. If you are inclined to leave a donation, you can hit that donation button. If you want to become a member, you can also join there, hitting the join button. And for anyone who doesn't want to leave a donation on YouTube, you can go to ivyrivera.psychicmedium.com. Are we ready, Polly?
Yeah.
All right, very good. So Christina has looked at the planets and she already has something prepared, what she wants to tell you guys for your zodiac signs. I am just going to wing it, and I'm going to listen to Spirit here, and I'm going to tell you whatever they bring up. Okay? So this is what you want to pay attention to. Like always, we are going to start with Aries. Aries, the first thing I'm getting for you is the month of February, the second and the third week, and this has to do with your throat chakra. So we're going to talk about clearing your throat chakra. You're going to get a closed throat chakra for one of two reasons. That means you either have not been speaking your truth, or you did and it was rejected, it wasn't received, you were disrespected in some way. You can't leave it like that. So I see you entering into situations, obviously they involve relationships, but for many of you, this isn't going to be just about personal relationships. This is also going to be about your work, your money, your career, anything that you consider an outlet as a resource, and you're going to have to push your agenda or make it clear. If this is rejected for whatever reason, again, you're going to have to set boundaries. So that's either saying, okay, I'm going to engage in this less, or I will not be here any longer and I'm going to go off and do my own thing. So Aries, for you, the whole beginning, especially like the first quarter of the year there, is feeling like it's focused on your independence. Now getting more into like the second quarter and the middle bit of the year, going all the way into about, I want to say October, November, I'm seeing your stomach turning. And so this is what I would call fire in the belly. A lot of new beginnings, a lot of change for you that you have really asked for. Your higher mind, in your life contract before you came to Earth. You may not remember asking for these types of changes, but they are absolutely a level up. They might be creating some discomfort or nervousness for you as well, but that fire in the belly is going to be key. You need to tap into that to reach the end of the year with peak prosperity. Christina, what do you have for Aries?
Yeah, I definitely have them having, the 3rd and the 9th are going to be the eclipse axis for them. So that is going to be communication and how they communicate with their siblings, cousins, neighbors. So that really aligns with the throat chakra that they have to be aware of and, learning. It's a reset for them. It's a point of combination. So that will be a focus this year. Also for them, I have Uranus and Saturn square in their 2nd and 11th. So their value system, connections, networking, hopes, wishes, and dreams are shifting. There's a tension there, so they have to make an adjustment there somewhere. I also have, and the Taurus eclipse is going to be, for them, it's going to be in their 2nd house. So we have like money, things going on and shakeups in money. So we also, and then in love for Aries, I have that June and July look like a good time to meet somebody if you're looking to do that, and September and October for long-term relationships. It looks like there's a lot of action going on there. And Mercury retrogrades in the 7th, September and October. So expect the parade of the X's, that type of information, like you're rethinking your committed partnerships. Do I want to be here? Do I not want to be here? How do I communicate in my, my relationships? So this is all Aries stuff. And of course, if you want the whole forecast, you can go right onto my website and I have the yearly for Aries.
Okay, interesting. Reminds me what you just said of what I was seeing for them. It's like new level, new devil. The beginning of the year, you set boundaries. By the end of the year, you're being tested. Are you going to backpedal or not? That's funny.
Yeah, they're leveling up for sure. They just have to make the right choices,
Yeah, this feels huge. All right, very good. So let's move on to Taurus. Spirit, what are we seeing for Taurus this year? For Taurus, I want to go into January and then February, March. And then I want to go more into March. So the first 2 weeks of January, I'm seeing things picking up. And it's almost like if there was a job that you needed, or if you needed an increase with money, if you needed more stability in your circumstances, your resources, there it is. But at the same time, it's almost like held up. It's almost like jump for that apple, or you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, or you can almost grab onto it, but you can't quite have it. So there could be a little bit of frustration going on there. Then things seem to sort of level out, and we're waiting on a bit, and then we go into March, and I'm feeling more toward the end of March, there seems to be some increase, like a flare up with, circumstances, opportunity for growth, change, development, but it's really going to require that you're willing to work with it and go with the flow. So it's going to take you being, wise enough to use your initiative and to set goals and to stay focused. I also feel for about a 2 to 3 month process right after that. So April, May, June, I'm feeling relationships pressing in and coming to the forefront of growth. Potential advantage for you, of course, because you have free will, but definitely you testing relationships or relationships testing you. Now, these do feel for the most part like they're hitting on a more personal note. We're talking family, friends, community, those in your inner circle, and really making you examine whether or not there is a healthy balance, what it is that you give and what it is that you receive. So you're going to have to figure out not only what it is that you want to receive from people, but are you worthy of having that? Are you contributing on the same level? Cutting off things like codependency, any manipulation behind the scenes, a lot of emotional manipulation will be coming to the forefront. What you want is genuine. What you want is raw and truth. So we see a lot of the number 7 here, truths being revealed. And I think that if you're honest about who you are, what you contribute, and what you're worthy of having, we're going to see more into the third quarter and the end of the year, that being more positive for you, as well as the payouts from the beginning with your money and resources. Christina, what do you got for them?
They have Uranus square Saturn, so they have that energy that needs an adjustment, some shakeups going on in their 1st and 10th. So how people see them in the world and their career. So there's big shifts going on there. Big opportunities with career, because there is an opportunity promised, but the hard work is definitely going to be needed in order to achieve more freedom. There could be a frustration with authority figures, perhaps. North Node in Gemini, so they're going to change their values, a new direction. But the money and the opportunities can be very lasting. If Saturn always says you have to be very moral. So if you're being moral with your choices, and the eclipse axis for them is the 2nd and 8th. So that is intimacy, like you were saying, in relationships, boundaries, that type of stuff. And there's going to be shifts there. Shared money, so money that you share with somebody else, there's change there, and a shift in your value system as well. If you are looking for love, August and September are a good time to meet somebody. Mid-December is actually a good time to be in a committed partnership. And you might meet somebody whose values finally align to yours at the end of the year. And for Taurus, Mercury retrogrades in the 10th and in the 2nd and in the 6th. So very much, about work. It really looks like there's a huge focus on work this year. Taurus and Taurus rising, and even the moon to a certain point.
Interesting. It's like work and then love. Okay. Excellent. Well, there we are again, syncing up. Okay. Very cool. So let's move on to Geminis. Geminis, what does Spirit see for you this year? Oh boy. So this is hard. Now I have to detach myself. So the first 3 months look fairly exhausting. I'm kind of looking at this. I just kind of want to take a nap. You may be moving, relocating, shifting your work into another career, or moving from your place of work into another building or something like that. You are also going to have to examine who's coming along with you. So even right down to your personal relationships of my children, my family, you know, even relationships with my parents, my lover, are they coming with me or no? So I see a lot of boundary setting within those relationships. Mostly it's like nose to the grind time for the first 3 months, January, February, March, and with huge payout after that. So it's like April, May, June, it looks like it's picking up. It reminds me of a snowball effect where like it starts to just sort of pick up on its own, and that's good. And then it looks to me like August and September. September is slowing down a little bit, but August is almost like the peak of prosperity. So a lot of payouts, things being loosened and finally given to you, blessings being delivered, you being seen, you being heard, you being recognized. Great time to publish, launch podcasts, get on YouTube, what have you, speak in front of audiences. You may also be hired for like a teaching position, a speaking position. You may be given a position of leadership within the company that you work for or whatever. And then, yeah, in September, it seems to quiet down a little bit. And then it's like nose to the grind time again. It almost feels like a revisitation of the first 3 months in November and December. And looking at especially those relationships again, you know, whether they're resurrecting and testing you, or you're re-examining and saying, okay, now I need to, you know, set better boundaries, but sort of a quiet time and more of an introspective time, almost like you're reinventing yourself on a personal and spiritual level, getting ready for that next level up in 2022. Christina, what do you got?
So Saturn asks you, wherever Saturn's transiting, it asks you to be a boss, okay? So I just find this very interesting for you particularly because Saturn is in your 9th house, Geminis, and Uranus is in the 12th. So the 9th house is like literally religion, philosophy, faith, law, travel, higher education. So your worldview, you're asking to be a boss up in this area. So it's like, you know, this is where you're going to do the hard work, but an opportunity is promised to you there. And that's squaring off with Uranus, and that is in your 12th house, which is karmic endings, behind the scenes, spiritual development, places where people are hidden like prisons and hospitals. So could have something to do with that as well. The 12th house tends to be more subconscious. So if you are not spiritually aware, or, you know, sometimes it just, you know, if you're not really mindful, then sometimes that can be more self-sabotaging. So, you know, but I think most of the people watching are probably very mindful. So this is funny because the eclipse axis is in your 1st and 7th. So we have the self versus partnerships. So we have some shakeups there. Like, you know, how are you connecting with others, yet preserving your own self or preserving your identity, but yet partnering with others. So there's big shifts in this area all year long for you guys. And Mercury retrogrades, so you're rethinking and redoing. And in January and February, it's in the 9th house. So that's the religion, philosophy, you know, law, travel, higher education. May, June, it's the 1st house, which is the self, identity, how people see you, how the world sees you. And then it happens in the 5th house in September and October. So this is like romance, creative projects, talents and abilities, and children. So, you know, we're rethinking and redoing those areas. And as far as love goes, you know, I definitely think in September, Mars is going to go into Libra. So that's going to be like probably a good time to start a romance or meet somebody. But, you know, when that Mercury goes retrograde, you know, you'll be kind of rethinking what you want in a relationship, what you want in a romance.
Fun. All right. Awesome. Okay. Let's move into Cancers. Spirit, what do you see for Cancers this year? So I'm getting a lot in May and I'm getting a lot in June. I do feel, I feel like I'm looking a little bit at like, you know, February, examining some of these themes, almost like they start to come up in February, but May and June, they're getting bigger and bigger. And so it feels to me like we're looking a lot at savings, especially in the month of May. And it's kind of like the first 3 weeks or so, you're saying like, do I have enough? Or at least you should be saying, do I have enough? What do I have in my savings? If there is any at all, can you somehow create a savings? Or at the very least, can you make sure you're dotting your I's, you're crossing your T's, and you're taking care of things that need to be repaired? You're making sure that everything is in order so that things run more smoothly. I think that this is not only to maintain, but it's also for outlets of leveling up and greater prosperity going into the month of June. So that seems to have two bigger hits. I do feel like I'm looking at maybe the beginning of the second week and then maybe like the end of the third week or something like that, where you could have a couple increases that you can use. And these aren't short-lived. This is something that you can bank on, put away, use for investment, or be able to count on for the long term, for the long haul. Then we're looking at September and a bit into October. I'm feeling like really hard work in September. It's like nose to the grind time again, with potential for leveling up, leadership, promotion, graduation, something like that. And then in October, I'm feeling like there's a lot going on with the heart. So love affair, possibly meeting a soulmate or members of your soul tribe entering in, and you figuring out what this means for you, what you're comfortable with, and what you want your life to look like in regards to relationships with other people. Christina, what do you got?
That's funny. Like, I felt like you were looking at my notes.
I'm not looking at her notes. We do this all the time.
No, this is like adjustments definitely need to be made for Cancer. It's Saturn's in the 8th house, asking you, where are you going to be a boss? Where are you going to be responsible? 8th house is shared finances. It's also, deep intimacy, deep fears, secrets, where, traumas that you've had. You're going to have to kind of look, and you're going to, I keep thinking therapy with this, like, getting, psychotherapy, like getting this out into the open and becoming more responsible. This is also shared finances. And then there is an adjustment to Uranus. There is, there's a shift there. There's a struggle. And this has to do with the 11th house, which is friends, acquaintances, hopes, wishes, and dreams in your community. So, this is like, where do you have to be responsible in order to be more free? And the 11th house, is those groups that you hang out with. So there are definitely adjustments here in these two areas. Mercury retrograde in the 8th. So that's, again, that shared finances, that traumas that you hold, the fears, the secrets. So you're rethinking all these things and hopefully getting them out. Then the second Mercury retrograde is in the 12th, so that has to do with spiritual connection, karmic endings. And then the third one is going to be in your 4th house, which is family. It's like you're kind of going to go within, think about your foundations, rethink your foundations. Money. And I had the same for money. June and July, you can make a lot of money, but you can also spend a lot of money too. So you want to just be careful with that. Eclipses, the 6th and the 12th. So the shifts really are, the point of crisis really have to do with like physical health, getting your physical health in order, your day-to-day habits, making sure that you are, letting go of karmic cycles, dream space, making your daily habits a priority, making sure that they're healthy, your mental thoughts, making sure that those are healthy. What have you learned? The 12th house can be like what you learned, because it's the completion of a cycle. So sometimes you have hindsight and you can kind of look back and say, oh, I should have done this or I should have done that. Like you kind of can look at that. And also 6th is work too. So shifts there with work as well. And we have for love, we have November. I had Mars enters Scorpio. So I think this is a really good time if you're looking to meet somebody. And that's what I have for Cancer.
Love it. Sounds like Cancers have a lot of hard work.
Yeah, Cancer really didn't have it so easy last year.
Or last year, yeah.
Yeah, so like you have to, Cancers kind of have to, we kind of have to take what happened and figure out what we learned and then kind of apply that. So,
well, that's life. Yep, that's life. All right, good. All right, awesome. So, Christina, why don't you take over going first? I'll go after you, starting with Leo.
All right, so I am a Leo. I'm also Cancer rising, so I am very familiar with this. So for Leo, it's going to be responsibility meets freedom. Saturn is where we're being asked to boss up. Well, where are we asking to be more responsible? This is going to be partnerships for us. This can be romantic partnerships, or it can be professional partnerships. And the shakeup here is in the 10th house. So this could be a new business partnership. This could be, a beginning or an ending to your reputation, your status, your career, opportunities. There's partnerships in your status, whether it be professional or personal or both, are definitely connected here. And it can be related to values in both areas changing as well. And for our eclipses, the 5th and the 11th, so again, we have romance here. So there's big shifts in romance, creative projects, and children. So, for people looking for love, for Leos that are looking for love, this is probably a really good year for that. I would say just get out there, different groups, and mingle in different groups. There's money to be made in August and September, but also could be a drain, could be spent. Mercury for us is going to retrograde in the 7th, the 3rd, and the 11th. So again, we're rethinking what we want in partnerships. We're rethinking how to do partnerships. The 3rd, we're rethinking communications and internet, and I think skills. And for the 11th, we're rethinking, and redoing our groups that we hang out with, or our hopes, wishes, and dreams. So, many astrologers out there are saying everybody wants to get with Leos this year. So we'll see.
Well, I have 3 on the board for Roots Revival Interfaith. 3 Leos in a row as my fellow reverends for the church. I love it. All right, so that's amazing. So I'm kind of listening to you, but I'm also sort of tuning you out. So, if I say the same thing that she said, that's just spirit talking. I really didn't hear a lot of that. I'm just kind of going with the flow here. So Leos, what does spirit have to say for Leos? I am seeing June and July, and then I'm feeling like the second half of the year, it's almost like things are just kind of going along for the first half of the year. I don't want to say humdrum exactly, because it does feel like a lot of change. It feels like a lot of positive energy coming in, almost like a broom sweeping out the old. So I see almost like a spring cleaning, like the front door and the windows are open. You're sweeping out the junk, and you are bringing in this new positive energy. But that goes on for quite a long time. So then we hit the second half of the year, right? June and July. And this is where things seem to change and adjust. For many of you, you may be bringing somebody into your life, romantically or otherwise, that would remind me kind of a Sagittarius type. Somebody who's kind of like wild and free and likes to travel, have adventure, new things, new opportunities. And this person or this situation may help you to get free of some stagnancy that had previously been there. So it seems to me like your social circle may quite literally get flipped on its ear, or it's like you're with a whole new group of people. Mm-hmm. And it's because of this whole new lifestyle that you've created for yourself. You are also supposed to be putting yourself front and center. That's the theme throughout the entire year, and actually started about 3 months ago, where you become front and center and you stop giving out to people in situations that are no longer deserving of your energy, almost like you are the captain of your ship and no one else on that ship can be putting holes in the bottom, turning it into a leaky boat. I do see you cutting cords more toward the end of the year. So I see October, November, December. You may decide to cut cords with other bad habits or situations or people that are no longer serving you or have become toxic. So we could see a transition between June and, again, what looks to me like, October, November, December. And I think it's going to be important to just release and let go. And it's almost like then you're done with the karmic cycle there. Then you go into the other, 2022 within the first 2 months looking free and clear. So a lot of prosperity, a lot of increase, a lot of business opportunities, but everything coming in the second half. So don't look at the first half of your year is how I feel about it, and think the second half is going to look anything like that.
Okay, well, I'll be coming for a reading for sure. Okay, so Virgo?
Yeah, so let's go on to Virgo.
All right, so Virgo, Saturn, Uranus square happening in your 6th and 9th. So work, health, routine, faith, philosophy, law, and higher education. So that's where the struggles will be. You're asking to be a boss. You know, you're asking to, the universe is asking you to boss up. Saturn's asking you to boss up in your work and your health routine. So whatever you do, day-to-day habits. There is, you know, a philosophy that whatever you do, those little things you do all day, make your life, make or break your life. So you have to change your habits and make sure that you are being diligent, moral, and, you know, very, very responsible. Mercury retrograde in the 6th, 10th, and 2nd. So Virgos are rethinking their values, their work, their health status, you know, career area here, your status area. These are all places where you're redoing, rethinking. Eclipse axis is the 10th and 4th. So we're talking about home and foundations. So, you know, shifts there, shifts in your home. Maybe some of you are going to move this year. So there's going to be, you know, or maybe even switch jobs, because there's a big focus on work and home. And love, Venus goes retro in your 5th house late in the year. So that's going to be like way at the end of the year. I didn't even really talk about that, but for you, I felt like it was significant, where you're going to either meet somebody or you're going to rethink what you want in a relationship. What you want is going to change. And late in the year, yeah, expect to hear from the exes, because this is going to be another parade of the exes, probably December going into 2022.
All right, great, cool. All right, so tuning all that out, let's see what. Okay, Virgos, Spirit, what are we getting for Virgos? January, February. So I'm getting March into April. And I'm feeling like a dip down from the second week in March down, and then into the first 2 weeks of April, where it almost feels to me like a little bit of a roller coaster ride. It's kind of like, okay, things are going to, you know, almost like dip down and then come back up again. And I think that that's going to be an opportunity for you to sort of sit still, dot your I's, cross your T's, look at contracts, fine print, what has been promised to you? What are you deserving of having? Making sure that everything's in order. I feel like this is something that you're going to be able to ride off of for the upcoming 3 months after that. I also feel a shift in priorities coming more in the middle of the summer and then really coming to the forefront in August, where if there was anything that you were ignoring, whether it's self-care, skeletons in the closet, unfinished business, you know, people trying to be around that really don't belong there anymore, you're going to have to deal with that. You're going to have to let go, set boundaries, or cleanse out what no longer serves. I also feel a bit of a spiritual awakening going on around that time. So any of you getting into healing, even if it's a conventional, like through the medical field, getting into light work, I see an increase in August, September. And then I want to say more like the last 2 weeks of October and 2 weeks into December, I feel like we're looking at work again, but it's like nose to the grind. It's like you're reinventing yourself. It's like you're signing new contracts or getting into a new position. It does feel to me like longer term prosperity and leadership, like boss energy there. Nice. Okay. Awesome. Like, so here's what I was going to say, Christina, why don't we take a quick break here and let Paul get to some questions. Okay. I also want to say thank you to everyone who's been donating, and then we'll get into Libra and Scorpio. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay, so Paulie, what do we have, and who can we say thank you to?
Well, I want to thank for donations. We've got Gloria, Jill, Amy, Shakura, Melissa, and Deb, and we got 2 new members. There's Diamond and Empathic Alex.
Welcome.
So thank you, everybody. This is awesome. The questions, really, everyone's just looking forward to their sign, but Jill had a question that I thought was a good one, is should we be taking into account only our sun sign or sun, rising, and moon? I'm writing them all down in case.
I would take them all into consideration for sure. The moon will be more intuitive, but definitely the rising and the sun. And I used to think that my rising was more important. And sometimes it's more mathematically correct, but I have to say this year, the sun signs have really been on. So I would listen to both and integrate both of them.
All right, awesome. So yeah, that's just a great question. I know a lot of people want to know about that. If you don't know what your rising sign or your moon sign is, you're only working with your sun. It's sort of like hopping along on one leg. You know, you really do need to know all of these. But again, go to Christina's page and watch her videos on this, or, you know, take the astrology class. You can also go to, where can they go, Christina? Is it called astrodentist.com?
Yeah, like astro.com. I think now you can just put in the computer and it'll
free.
come up, and you can just, you know, put in your information and a chart will come up with your sun, moon, and rising, as long as you know the exact time. And exact time is very important in astrology.
Yeah. So, yeah, always look at all three signs. Okay, good. So that was sort of the one general question. Everyone else is like, what's going on? Yeah, we're not there yet.
Yeah,
okay, got it. All right. So, Christina, you go first. What do you have for Libra?
So Libra, Saturn squaring Uranus. Where are you asking to be a boss? Well, Saturn is saying you have fifth house lessons. So this is going to be lessons around children, or lessons around romance, or, you know, this could also be lessons with creative projects. But Uranus is in the 8th, and that is shared resources, or that is shared, you know, intimacy, traumas. There's shakeups here, you know, so romance and intimacy, shakeups. There might even be psychic messages that you get, you know, like suddenly, you know, you might get, so, you know, pay attention to that. The eclipse axis for you guys is in the 3rd and 9th. So that is communication, skills that you learn, siblings, cousins, neighbors, travel. You know, this also has to do with faith and religion. You know, this is like philosophy. It's not necessarily like, it can be religion, but it can also just be like your faith or your philosophies. You know, perhaps that's going to shift this year. And, you know, your worldview based on your experiences. And I think maybe all of our worldviews have changed after 2020. And so there's going to be shakeups and shifts there for you. Love, there's a focus on love, definitely. But when Saturn goes into your 5th, a lot of times, like, love is sort of denied a little bit. But it's more of a delay, not a denial. So, you know, if you have to do really hard work and commit to a relationship, you know, that's something you're working on and committing towards. Or if there's no relationship, it's not that there will never be a relationship. It's just you're kind of doing some work on what you want to set that relationship up, that opportunity up, so that you have it down the line. And money shakeups with money, definitely with Uranus in that 8th. Just, you know, that's like shared resources. So, you know, don't count on, like, if you're counting on like child support or something, you know, just know that could kind of change. So just be aware of that, you know, somehow compensate for that. And Mercury retrograde is in your 5th house, in your 9th house, and your 1st house. So you're definitely, you know, this is a focus on love for sure, or maybe lack thereof. Like, maybe you're rethinking of how your what you want, what your values are in romance, and how you communicate in romance. And the 9th, you're definitely rethinking your philosophies. And the 1st, self-identity. So how are you communicating your ideas to the world? How are people viewing you? This is, you know, Libras also had a tough 2020. So now they're taking what they learned and they're kind of moving it into, you know, practice now.
All right. Awesome. Okay. So Libra. Spirit, what are we getting for Libra? I'm feeling February, and I'm feeling almost like a sort of a needling effect going on. This may be affecting your money and your work, your finances, but it could also be where you have like shared resources. So we could also be kind of connecting a romantic partnership up with this, or a connection to like your parents or anyone in a position of authority. It could be almost like you're being pestered, you're being needled about how exactly you're going to get access to those resources if they're changing or what you should be spending them on. I feel that this sort of quiets down, and I also feel like it's a little bit of time for confrontation. So if you want answers to things, you want to figure out who and what you're actually dealing with, you're going to want to get it all out on the table at that time. I see you being more independently minded, and that's going March, April, May. It's sort of like nose to the grind, focusing on yourself, focusing on what you need to get done, and feeling almost a sense of either a lack of abundance or as though you want more. I want more. I want more. And I think that part of the lesson here for you guys, especially like heading into June, is going to be gratitude for what you do have, an attitude of gratitude. And I feel that out of all the zodiac signs, you guys maybe hit the hardest with adjustment on this, where you expected a certain amount of payout for the hard work that you put in, and the universe just isn't paying you out this year. And so, and I'm talking about 2020 and parts of 2021 challenging you, but you are still in a really good position, and you need to be more grateful for what you do have. So I think that if you are willing to learn those lessons, we're not only going to see an increase with health, finances, long-term stability with your finances. So that could be contracts and leadership or business expansion, but I also see relationships getting better because of it. So it feels like it's hitting you on a very personal and spiritual note, and especially in the months of September, and then again in November, I see more going on with love. So this could be family. This could even be like the birth of a child or marriage, love, partnerships getting on a deeper level too. And I see some karma being wiped out by the end of the year. So it's sort of like, let's say you had family dynamics or a chapter that needed to wrap up in your life about a really hard lesson that may have started when you were younger. I see that coming to a conclusion.
Yeah, that's definitely true, because there was a lot of parental and foundational stuff going on for Libra this past year. So it's definitely kind of wrapping up and moving.
Yes.
Very interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
I do feel like they're going to be more independent, be able to use their voice in a different way. Scorpio. So Scorpios, flip my page here. So they have Saturn square Uranus in the 4th. So they're asking, when Saturn enters your 4th, you're asking to be boss in your home. Okay, so you're asking to be more responsible with the home. So a lot of times you're downsizing. So whether that be you're just reorganizing it so that it makes more sense, or you're actually moving to a smaller space. But when Saturn ends up there, you can do reconstruction on your house. There's a lot of that going on. And the 7th is where Uranus is, and that's relationships. So shakeups with the house and relationships, maybe the people that you have in the home. You know what I mean? You're trying to organize the house so that your relationships can change with them in this can be maybe they don't like the changes, but they kind of you have to sort of boss up and tell them they need to follow it. The eclipses for you are in the 8th and the 2nd. So income, intimacy, sharing money, and value. So you're rethinking about how you make money, and you're rethinking how you share that money, and how much you're going to share. Mercury retrogrades in the 4th, the 8th, and the 12th. So again, we have the home, rethinking the home. Perhaps this is, the reorganization part of it. We have Mercury retrograde in the 8th. So again, we're talking about shared finances, kind of a big deal this year. And we have the 12th house as well. So karmic endings, rethinking your spiritual connection, your faith. There's big, heavy emphasis on money with Scorpio this year. For love, in May, Jupiter does move in briefly into your 5th house. I think that's a blessing. It gives you a little bit of a glimpse into having a little more fun and maybe a new relationship on the horizon. But that's 2022 looks more fun, but you kind of get a glimpse of it. And this January 2021, Mars is in the 5th. So you could meet somebody there, or you could have some romance in January. What do you got, Ivy?
Okay. So let's see. Scorpio, what do we have from Spirit? Okay. I'm feeling May, I'm feeling June, and then I'm feeling like a peak in July of some type of a theme where you may be dealing with like either a love partner or examining what it is exactly that you want in partnerships. This doesn't necessarily just have to be in love, but basically figuring out what kind of support you need and want. But it's about how you can use relationships that are healthy, including in work, to assist you in leveling up in many different ways. So I think that while that's going to be a bit of a theme around that time, it doesn't seem to come with an answer, or it doesn't get like leveled up at that time. It's just like an examination period. I do feel it resurrecting itself in the middle of November, like the 2 weeks in the middle of November. I also feel an incline with resources at the end of December leading into January. So now we're looking into like 2022, where things seem to be given to you that you've earned, or you feel that you've earned. So if you do spend the time, if you have in 2020, if you do in 2021, spend the time, do the hard work, make sure that you're not cutting any corners, you're not skimping in any way. It's almost like you're on a karmic trial throughout the year. You will get that payout at the end. So again, even with things like, your taxes, making sure that you're being ethical in the way that you deal with your money and other people in business, your relationships, it's all about give and take, and then having that karmic payout at the end if you kind of level up in that way. That's how it looks to me. Okay. So let's shift. So I'll go first. Christina, you ready to keep going?
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to do Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. So Sagittarius is 2021. What is Spirit giving me? This is all about communication for you. This is especially in February and March about you feeling as though you have not been heard, or you are stepping up and you're saying, you know what, maybe I didn't speak my truth. Maybe I need to say it in a new way. You're making it very clear who you are, what you want. And I think then you're sort of sitting back and watching, detaching a bit to see where that lands, what that creates, how people respond. And then I think you're really putting your hands on those outcomes, and you're utilizing it in July and August so that you are feeling more independent, stronger. This is a time to push forward, not hold back. And I feel some examination of health in October and then later in November, not only necessarily just for you, but also those in your inner circle. We would also want to be keeping an eye on parents and children. And so I can't prescribe a diagnosis, but any health issues that need to get dealt with, we don't want to bury our head in the sand. This would be a good time to get things checked out. And when it does come to you, especially, I feel like we're talking about mental well-being and being balanced. Okay, put yourself first. Christina, what are you getting?
Very similar. So Saturn, is where we're asked to have a lot of responsibility, where we're going to boss up, where we're going to be restricted. And that is communication for you. So, you're going to feel like somebody's coming down on you for communicating. You're not going to feel heard. But, this also is, interestingly enough, this squares a Uranus in the 6th, which could be a shakeup in health too. So if a doctor is not hearing you on, a health issue, good, that would be something you would want to go get a second opinion on. It doesn't always have to play out like this, but just from what Ivy said and how I'm looking at it, this could restrict your travel as well. This could restrict you in some way this is siblings, cousins, neighbors, or maybe like skills that you're learning, you're going to have to work really hard at. It's not going to be very pleasant for a little while because Saturn's there saying, do the work. There's denials, or there's delays, not denials. And then Uranus is kind of shaking up that health and daily routine area. So you just want to pay attention to the health point of that. And the eclipses for you are in the relationship zones. So it's relationships and how you're going to still be yourself and be independent, and how are you going to relate to others. So there is a shift there, but it feels like, there is a love opportunity here. Also too with, maybe some new truths in relationships too. Mercury is going to retrograde in the 3rd house, the 7th house, and the 11th house. So again, we have like partnerships, the community that you hang out with, or your hopes, wishes, and dreams, some, rethinking on that. And again, we have a focus on communications as well. So that is an ongoing theme for you. This is not the time to bitch out your boss. This is more of a time to, be more, like you said, you're not going to feel heard, but you have to do it in a way, you have to be heard in the right way, in the more mature, responsible way. But you do have to voice yourself. You just have to do it in the right way. Money gets better now that Saturn has moved out of your second house. So that's going to be a relief for a lot of Sagittarius.
So Christina, when Christina does a reading, it's like, I don't even know what I'm looking at. It's like numbers and craziness and piles of papers and arrows and shapes.
But
and
you
I'm like,
always get to refer to it,
Yeah, but you know what you're talking about. Like, there are no words. It's just all that. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. Okay, so we're on Capricorn, correct? Capricorn. Yep. All right, so let's see. All right, so Spirit, what are we getting for Capricorn this year? I'm really feeling a bit of a lull, and it's like April and May. It's sort of like you may be feeling a little melancholy, a little humdrum. Are things going to get moving? When are things going to get moving for me? I'm feeling as though you've been patient, you put in the hard work, you've held to the good attitude, and you're done with that part. Okay, and then I feel like it does shift. I think it's going to be important to remember, like entering into June and July, that sometimes when we get that way and we're like, I can't take it anymore, I need a change, it's because you are right on the brink of change. And so it's sort of like the grand finale, you're feeling anxious because it's literally tangible at this time. So don't get down on yourself, stay positive, try to remember that patience is a virtue. This is an opportunity for growth. Then we hit those months. Okay, June, July, I feel like August. And especially am feeling the pickup on energy in really all areas, but also communication with others. So we're talking work, we're talking money, we're talking about advancement. We're also talking about communication with others, where maybe if there was a stagnancy or people around you seem to be really not sharing in the way that they should have been, all of a sudden we also see flow and connectivity there between you and others. And then in August, I'm feeling quite a fair amount of travel potential. And this could be movement with your residency or your work, but I thought that it was also feeling very fun to me. And so it looks like you could be traveling either, God willing, right, within the state or even overseas. And I think that we could be looking at some potential love or talking romantically with someone where you share interests. So this can even be like intellectually stimulating relationships more toward November and December. Christina, what do you get?
Well, Saturn is squaring Uranus in the 2nd and the 5th. So we do have shakeups around children and romance. But we also have, Saturn's asking you to be a boss, to be more responsible with your money and with your values. So you're going to be scaling back spending. But, with Saturn, the money, you just have to be more responsible with it so that it won't be there when you need it. And the eclipse axis for you guys is going to be in the 6th and the 12th. So we're talking about work routine is going to have some shakeups with it. Mental and physical health changes. Karmic endings, work routine, health routine, self-care. These are all, shakeups in the areas on those eclipse dates that I gave you. And Mercury is going to retrograde in the 2nd. So we have, again, you're rethinking your values and your money. We have Mercury is going to retrograde in the 5th house. So rethinking relationships and children, how you're, it's in your 6th house. Again, like we're talking about the, the work and the health. So I know that Capricorns, had a lot of health stuff going on. But you're getting your groove now. It feels like you're getting your groove, and you're just rethinking how you can take this into your day-to-day life or day-to-day work routine. And we do have one eclipse in the 5th house. There is a shakeup there with love, and Saturn. Love is going to get better because Saturn's out of your opposite sign now, and that
area is going to be shaken up all year. And then we have that one eclipse in Taurus for you guys. So there's going to be some kind of culmination in November with love. So, there could be some interesting stuff there with love for Capricorn.
That definitely looks interesting. You know what I noticed about that one? It looks new and old at the same time. So I wonder if there's a soulmate connection coming in from a past life.
Could be. Mm-hmm.
Fun. All right, you guys. Keep us updated. We love your comments. Over the years, you guys just go on here and let us know what ended up happening. Love it. Love it. Okay, Christina, we good to move on to Aquarius?
Yep.
All right. Aquariuses, what is going on with you this year? We're talking almost the last 3 months. So October, November, somewhat into December. I feel like it's going to be, and just even leading up to that, so some in September as well. You may start off almost like a sheep. And it's like, well, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't ask, or I don't want to rock the boat. And then it's like the universe is like, go, like say it, go after what you need. And so you may feel a universal push to speak on your behalf, to take what is rightfully yours, to go get it. And for some of you, you may also feel that you're not only doing this in like work and career or with like residency or, your investments. You may also feel like you're doing this in a relationship. So if there are, even let's say it's a romantic partnership that's, where like somebody's kind of in between, or they're not showing their full level of commitment. They're still tied up with somebody else. You're going to want to watch out for any kind of cheating this year. But I also feel that if people aren't coming to you and you are dating or you're in a relationship that's already established and they're not giving you enough in that relationship, you might be like, well, time's up. Okay. You've had your opportunity. I'm going on to either find someone else, or this could be a great time for you to become more independent in having that single mentality that I am not a half. I'm not looking for my other half. I am a whole. I was also feeling that in the beginning of the year, primarily, the end of January, going into February, there could be some tug of war or battle with your finances. And I think it's going to be really important to breathe and to just sort of sit it out, dot your I's, cross your T's, do what you can, but no one to say, let go, let God, no one to say the serenity prayer, stay in your lane, do not stress yourself out over things you have no control over. So this is an opportunity for you spiritually to develop and to sort of mature in your ability to say, okay, this is where my responsibility lies. I can do this, but this is when it's out of my hands and it's in the universe. The universe is job to support me, and I'm going to have more faith, and I'm going to go with the flow on that. Christina, what are you getting for them?
Wow, that was really good. So this is the biggest year of all for Aquarius because this is really them becoming a brand new person. Hard work will equal blessings. So if you have not worked hard in the past, it is time. Like the time, the bell has rung, it is time. And Saturn is in your first house, which is the body and how other people see you. So you have to do some hard work on that. You have to realign yourself. And Uranus is in your fourth house. So this has to do with home and family. So there is a redefining of yourself within the family somehow. And there's some kind of shift or there's some kind of adjustment that needs to be made there. Big shakeups, home, family. And Saturn is asking you to become more responsible and have a more responsible identity. It feels very restrictive at first, and Aquarius doesn't like to be restricted. So they're not going to be very happy with that. But it does come with rewards. There's rewards promised if you are moral, if you do the work. There are rewards definitely down the road. There are blessings. Mercury is going to retrograde for you in your first house. So you're rethinking you. You're rethinking how you, the self and the identity. Mercury is going to retrograde in the fifth. So you are rethinking romantic partnerships, considering what you value in a romantic partnership, but also in your relationships with children, how you communicate with children, how you communicate with how you communicate yourself. with it in the first, because that first Mercury retrograde is going to affect you the most. And then the second one in Gemini will be your 5th house, which is love and children. So how you connect with love, with romance and children. And then the 9th house, it will have to do with law, education, philosophy, and faith. So how you communicate in that regard. And you're rethinking your ideals. And I'm assuming for a lot of Aquarians, your ideals are going to change dramatically. The eclipse axis for Aquarius has to do with, again, the 11th and the 5th. So we're talking about romance, friends, groups, hopes, wishes, and dreams. So there's a lot of shifting going on there. Perhaps new friendships, new groups, new hopes, wishes, and dreams. Some coming to, when we have eclipses, there's things that come to an end, and then there's new beginnings. So that is what that's going to be all about for all year for you guys. And if you are looking to find love, March and April are high times for love action. Money gets better in 2022 for Aquarius. So, kind of work on leveling up, and the blessings will come. That one eclipse that we do have in Taurus for you is in the home, though, and that is significant for you guys. So November is an important time for shakeups with the home. And that's all I have for Aquarius.
That's busy.
I would love to hear if Aquarians are feeling this yet.
I don't know how they couldn't be, because I was some of the stuff you mentioned I saw starting last month.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's oh boy, here we go. But a lot of that karmic stuff, look, if you haven't been putting in, now or never. Okay, pretty wild. Yeah, Aquarius, please do post. We want to hear from all you guys. All right, let's move on to Pisces, our last sign of the zodiac. So Pisces, what is going on with you this upcoming year? So I almost feel like a bit of a monkey on your back, starting out the year feeling as though you're restricted. You're not really getting what you need or you feel that you want. So this could be happening with your work, with your career, with your education. If you feel like you're not really where you want to be, it's not to say that there isn't anything going on there. It's just that it's not really up to your standards. So you could be feeling almost restless, like you're crawling out of your skin. And I think that it's an important time, especially come March, I guess around your birthdays probably, right? Where you stop and you say, okay, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to be avoidant or escapist or just frustrated. I'm going to stop and be introspective and really process what it is that's making me feel that way. Okay, well then if something's missing, what is that thing, or how can I start working toward that? So I see a revamping of your goals, actually setting some goals, so that if you were one of these Pisces that didn't have any, now you understand how important it is to have some in place. And if you did have some, but maybe it's time to shift them, be fluid about shifting. That's part of the process of building a life for yourself. I also see some talk of love around June, early July, communicating with someone who really seems to sort of light your fire. So this could be a karmic contract or a soulmate connection. This is someone who's really got you sort of intrigued. And I'm not sure how far that goes, but it definitely seems to change you. And then you go through the rest of the year pondering that, applying what you've learned earlier in the year, and realizing that you're really turning into a very different person. I see you becoming more responsible, more mature, understanding more about how the universe works and how karma works. And if you put in, you get more out in a pretty rapid pace. And I see you being able to maximize that around December, especially the end of the first week into the second week, and then into some of the third week, where it's almost like you build a new business or you're in a brand new position. And so your resources also look nice, but more importantly than your resources, you're feeling it. You are feeling the work. You are feeling that where you spend your time every day, it now has value. And that is very different from the way we start. Christina, what are you getting?
That was really good. I feel like you were looking at my notes. Sag,
Saturn's in the 12th, so you're asking to be responsible or to boss up in the area of spiritual connection. So and Saturn is karma too, so there are karmic endings there, and it is squaring Uranus in the 3rd. So we're talking about communication, we're talking about travel, siblings, cousins, and even the internet. Your thought process, though, this is kind of important because Saturn in the 12th has to do with your unconscious. And spiritual connections. So your thought processes that no longer serve you have to go. Old thought patterns gone. Careful, I would be careful of travel around January 20th, particularly for you guys, or like a car expense or something. Just around that week, just be a little bit careful. The eclipses are in the 10th and 4th for you. So you are shifting in home and family work balance. So that is going to be what is highlighted for you during those eclipse dates. Mercury retrograde for you, the 12th, right? We're talking about spiritual connection, your subconscious. And the 4th, home, and the 8th, which has to do with sharing resources. You're rethinking about how you're going to share resources in the future, how you're going to be intimate again. But it's interesting because just like Ivy said, December, Venus is going to retrograde in Capricorn, your 11th house. And all of a sudden, things start to come to fruition and things start to pay off. And you start redefining the groups that you are with, or the hopes, wishes, and dreams you have, and things start changing for the better. So there is a lot of contemplation this year, I feel like, and maybe even a lot of stuff going on in the dream space too. But I do feel like, once you get this homework family balance, by the end of the year, you're going to really like where you're at.
Awesome.
That's what I have.
All right. If you guys, again, you want to see more in depth on your sign from Christina, you can, always book with her. Her link is in the, what do we call that? Intro? Description. Okay, but go to her YouTube channel to check out more. Also, this show is going to have to download. It'll be published up on YouTube tomorrow, and I'll be breaking these down into individual signs and reposting those. Our next class is when and what is it?
Our next class is the 5th, which is love versus fear.
Love versus fear. Where are you coming from in your decision making? How to come from a place of love instead of fear. We'll be breaking that down on the 5th at 8 p.m., I believe it is, back here on YouTube. I want to thank everybody again for their donations. Welcome new members. We'll be reaching out to you here soon. Psychic Mediumship course. If you want to register, now is the time. It starts on the 16th of February. You can do that at Ivy Rivera psychicmedium.com. And we have our first Sunday service for Roots Revival Interfaith at 8 p.m. Eastern on January 3rd with myself, Christina Del Rey, Paul Casey Healing Arts, and Danny Johnson, coming together to talk about your everyday life and how to bring more peace, harmony, and healing into that. Also increase your prosperity with aspects of numerology, astrology, and intuitive intelligence. So join us for that. Christina, thank you so much. Another year. Oh, it's always so good to have you. All right, you guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Good luck in 2021. No doubt about it. It will be better than what we just went through. Thank you, Polly.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Spirit. Take care, everybody.